Hello everyone! So, Gamera Rebirth, or Gamera? Anyway, a few of you under my last video about Godzilla Singular Point suggested that I should also watch and review this series. Gamera Rebirth is the series that was made specifically for Netflix, and oh boy, get ready because you're in for one hell of a ride. Because the series only had 5 episodes, and right off the bat, it already felt like a budget version of Godzilla, because like, even the main monster is not Godzilla, it's just some tortoise who kinda looks like it. Oh, and by the way, I'm aware that Gamera is its own character, essentially. That's not the point. I was still down to give it a try, especially when budget animes can be really impressive when it comes to their plot. However, right off the bat, the animation didn't look like, it didn't look like the person who was working on it was looking at the screen. To be fair, the animation overall is not all bad. Like, when I was watching scenes with kaijus in particularly, they did look great, like absolute cinema. But the scenes with humans, I don't know, like the animation quality is not terrible. Like, I've seen way worse, but the character designs not only look not detailed enough, but also incredibly bland. Like, I feel like I'm watching adventure of secondary characters while main characters having a life somewhere else. Like, you know the meme, main character could be anyone, and then the main character. Yeah, this is pretty much this show for you, except, like, everyone is like that. On second thought, I guess the anime also kind of follows that logic, because Gamera is the main character. Gamera does have an interesting design. Everyone else is a secondary character, so everyone else has a blend design. Okay, never mind, I guess. To be fair, all kaiju models do look unique and very detailed, and actually scenes with kaijus do look way cooler than scenes with humans. Which, yeah, that's how it should be in the anime where the main focus are the monsters. But I don't know, if the monster scenes are incredibly cool, the scenes with humans, in my opinion, are just incredibly cringy. Well, like, at least from the visual perspective, at least. Like, I don't know. Tell me in the comments if you do feel the same while looking at those creepy ass faces. And actually, while you're at it, like and subscribe, please. YouTube likes when you do that. Anyway, the anime starts and some backrooms looking fellas are digging a huge hole in the ground. After discovering some cave and some kaijus, they all die. We then move to the main character who hangs out with his friends, and they discuss how soon they won't be able to see each other because they're soon gonna go to different schools. After that, we go to the mother of the year, really, because after the main character comes back to his house, his mother gets angry for him trying to stay in touch with his friends and saying that he doesn't need friends? Bruh, mother of the year, no wonder he's soon gonna hang out with a giant tortoise. Cities, meanwhile, attacked by the dragon-looking kaijus, who actually do look pretty cool. Not only their design is decently scary, but they also shoot out lasers that cut human flesh like butter, and it's actually shown in the anime, which gives out a lot of tension. Later, bigger kaiju start destroying the city, which does look horrific, because not only we see human casualties, but also the way those kaijus look, eesh. So overall, introduction to the kaijus is pretty impressive because it has a lot of tension, and you can right away tell that the situation is gonna be pretty serious. Until we cut to the main characters who, while all this is happening, are fighting racist American bullies who took their lunch money. And unfortunately, I am not even exaggerating. After that, in classic kaiju movie fashion, Gamera shows up, a giant turtle who can fly like a superjet.
Oh, they fly now! They fly now? They fly now!
He kills all of the red dragons. After that, Americans try to blow him up, so he flew away. By the way, remember I was saying that kaijus are animated way better than humans? Well, I'm just noticing that in general everything looks better in animation when kaijus are on screen. I'm not even joking, because main characters, when running away from kaijus, run with higher FPS than in the scene where they were talking before kaijus showed up. So kaijus on screen literally rise quality of the show. Anyway, after that, the main characters are swooped by the Foundation. I'm just gonna call it SCP Foundation because it's funnier. Well, I mean, they pretty much do the same thing. They study, like, kaijus, creatures that don't exist, probably Bigfoot. They explain to the kids that, for some reason, children attract kaijus, whatever that means, and give them out an audio devices so they can contact them if any other kaiju appears. Also, after that, the main characters, whose name I'm not gonna mention, except for this guy because his name is Satoru, and the main characters call him Joe, So Joe Satoru kinda out of nowhere became friends with this American bully, and I really don't understand why, because he literally called them trash because they were Japanese a scene ago. Like, I'm not even exaggerating, they just dropped that scene anime and then just it goes nowhere. Everybody just ignores it. Like, it's almost like they meant it as a joke. Like, did you expect viewers to react at it like this? And don't get me wrong, with the magic of storytelling, you can make a very bad character or a rude character likable. But the story doesn't do anything with the fact that he did that. The most we get is that Joe later calls him out, but not because of the initial bullying incident, because this guy is afraid to talk back to his father, who's the general of the US Army, and he's like rude when a 12-year-old tries to give him an advice on how to save civilians from kaijus. And here's the thing, I do get that the series is essentially trying to play on hyper-realism, like Transformers did, for example, because the army in here takes essential part of the plot. And I guess hyper-realism also explains all the really gory scenes and all of the children acting like, well, like children. And their actions overall more or less feel real. Like, for example, even scenes where a general is literally rude to everyone around him, you don't feel like it's supposed to be an intentional antagonization of the character. It's supposed to show that he's actually strict, because he's a general of the US Army. Like, I do like scenes with this character, unironically. There's even a scene which explains that SCP Foundation accidentally released kaijus into the city. Well, not those ones, but the other one that Gamera also kills in the next episode. And the general is rightfully mad at them because he now has to go and save civilians and evacuate town because of their mess up. This secondary character is unironically written better than the main characters, who are, for the most part, are just doing random stuff. They went to investigate the strange behavior in the sewerage, thinking they're gonna find kaiju. They found a giant kaiju and just ran away from it. Again, I get that the main characters are young and it sort of explains all of their behavior, but that doesn't justify it, because it still feels annoying. Okay, I feel like I'm being a little too nerdy. After the scene, which was actually really cool, where Gamera destroys another freaky-looking kaiju, we get a scene where main characters join SCP Foundation. They go somewhere in the boat, and the lady scientist from SCP Foundation decided to undress for sunbathing, and I guess none of the viewers should complain, but she does it right in front of the main characters. This scene is kind of weird.
Next time you're sunbathing on the heath, you might want to be a bit more careful.
Okay, the next episode, to be honest, is a little engaging, but also a little weird. Essentially, we're introduced to the new water-based kaiju that apparently everyone knew about, except for the SCP Foundation. As such, they decided to travel through ocean, when it's like, kinda dangerous with this thing swimming around. Since this kaiju is actively attacking a ship, it decided to attack the main characters as well, and no matter how much they tried to shoot them down with torpedoes, it didn't do anything. And here's the thing, I like action in this episode, because not only water looks great, like hell, it looks way better than water in Pacific Rim the Black. I still don't know what that was.
Welcome.
The directing and quote-unquote camera work in the episode was actually really good. Like, all of the action was engaging to watch, even though it was just a chase in the water. Everyone was panicking and trying to come up with a different solution when the kaiju was attacking them, but all in all, we the audience know that none of their solutions are going to be effective, because the bigger kaijus in this anime are kinda... But here's the thing, at the same time, the anime tried to go a little bit into the backstory of the main characters, and on this episode they focused on this girl with glasses. I'm not gonna lie, it was kinda boring because her personal tragedy was just nonsensical. Not only because the backstory of this girl with glasses was simply, I believe in UFOs, but nobody else in my class wanted to go look for UFOs with me, so that made me sad. But also because other characters straight up say that typically her plans that she comes up with, even though sound nerdy, are typically just crazy. And I agree! Because look, kaiju is chasing them for like half of the episode. All of their attacks were not successful. The kaiju just tanked them. In the end, they only survived because Gamera again showed up the last second to save them. But after Gamera loses in a 1v1, this girl proposes that they should just try and lead this kaiju to the nearest island, where they would have a rematch. Like, she basically just says,
Let them fight.
And obviously the response she get to this genius plan is that, no, we're not gonna do that because it's stupid. But then her friends are like, no, 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 listen to her. She might be onto something. Who cares that none of your torpedoes were able to damage that kaiju? Or who cares that that kaiju is twice as fast as the submarine? Who cares? Let's do it because, well, because we don't want our friend to feel bad, I guess. By the way, the ending of the episode was wholesome. I can't even complain, really. Everyone swam to the nearest island and decided to try this girl's plan. Again, they only survived because Gamera showed up the last second and saved them, and actually the finale of the fight was really cool, so A+ for that. But in addition to that, Science Lady and this girl later have a conversation, and she was like, why would you believe in my plan? It was obvious it was stupid. And she's like, yeah, the plan was stupid, but we're friends, so like, we had to try. And I don't know, I like it because I'm glad they're admitting that this was stupid. Like, it did feel like the magic of the friendship kind of moment when everybody's just obviously doing something weird because their friend feels bad. But on the other hand, rewatching that scene, like, yeah, her plan was risky, but on the other hand, there's not really any other options because back then, if they just stayed and waited for help, the Ziggurat probably would have killed them eventually, so... Okay, A+ from me for the good writing. Also, yeah, I just called this kaiju by name, and that's the only time where I'm gonna do that. Also, this is the original design of this kaiju, and I'm actually surprised they made it look horrific in this anime. Because look at it, come on. Oh, and the funniest part of the episode was when the American bully was like, wait a minute, is she a girl? I thought she was a boy. And everybody's like, well, yeah, she's a girl. And after that, he develops a crush for her? Like, this is just funny. Alright, the next episode is not as action-packed because it's honestly kinda goes into interesting direction, but there's not enough time for us to learn much about this direction, so it's like, Basically, every character we saw on screen thus far are starting to question the Foundation because they're hiding something from them, and the kaiju seem kinda mysterious, and they've been traveling with this huge rock, which somehow regenerates kaiju, and apparently is their, like, organ, if you think about it. But, again, it's all interrupted by a creative fight of kaijus again. We're just supposed to figure out that the Foundation is evil, but there's not exactly clear transition from them being good and evil. They just suddenly become evil. But it's interrupted by a fun action, so I can let it slide. The kaiju that attacks the Foundation base where the characters are at is really creative because it has this, like, huge spear on his face, and he has to, like, flip in order to cut something with it, which is just, like, really imaginative. And the most creative part of this fight is that when Gamera again shows up the last second to defend the kids, he dies. Yes, just like that.
Just like that, huh, Pop?
Well, okay, I'm just kidding. I know you all care so much, but he didn't actually die. He was just injured really badly, which allowed him to activate one of his abilities, which basically turns him into a Beyblade, and he slashes that kaiju. While all this is happening, by the way, main characters finally decided to do something actually useful instead of just randomly wandering around and waiting for the kaiju to save them. In short, they touched that crystal, which is like an organ/fuel for the kaijus, which allowed them to see a literal convenient story device flashback. Yeah, very convenient, I'm gonna say. Basically, a while ago, an ancient civilization decided to create kaijus as a biological weapon. At the same time, they created a certain genome that can make kaijus really hungry, and after kaijus eats that genome, which is typically inside of humans, they're gonna devour everything, like all of the humans they see on their way, after which, naturally just die. However, back then, that plan failed. So right now, the head of the Foundation, who are ancestors of that civilization, or they're immortal, I don't know, decided to try again. They found a human, which has that exact genome, which turns out to be the main character, coincidentally. So now, to fulfill the plan, they need to feed the main character to a mummified kaiju at their base, and the kaiju is gonna destroy the world, essentially. And with a few dozens of millions of humans that are left, SCP Foundation is planning to build a new utopia society. I don't think I have to explain that this plan is just stupid and doesn't make a lot of sense and is basically just evil for the sake of being evil. Like, both logically and mathematically, that plan just makes no sense. There's no way you can get anything under control, and even if you spend several decades getting everything under control, there's no way you're gonna build anything with this few people. And okay, and here, once again, we have a kinda convoluted finale to all of those shenanigans, because look, First of all, those two characters that have been following the kids are not in charge of the Foundation. They're sort of just following the rules, except they both know different things because this council that is in charge of the Foundation hasn't been telling them the entire truth. I know that's kind of convoluted, but bear with me here. Basically, the council that has been in charge of SCP Foundation was stranded at the moon base, thanks to Emiko's efforts. Essentially, she herself decided to reawaken kaijus and feed him the genome in hopes that she can herself destroy the world. James, on the other hand, was not aware of that situation, and so now he's trying to manipulate his way around, save the kids and his life. I don't even exactly understand what is the purpose of Council of the Foundation, because they don't really do much in the plot, except for keeping secrets, and turns out in the end, them keeping secrets is what led to their downfall, because nobody knew about their plan, which led to Emiko seizing the whole plan and becoming the mastermind herself. Okay, just to summarize the whole thing, essentially Emiko is the main villain. James is kinda trying to play neutral, trying to save his life, and possibly the kids. Gamera is trying to save the kids, other kaijus are just having fun destroying everything. Okay, so the villains are waking up kaiju who looks like Cthulhu, by the way, which is kind of funny and ironic and actually a great reference. It wakes up faster than expected, and main characters use this chance to run away. Cthulhu, meanwhile, in a very gory way devours a few of the henchmen, and everybody races to the space shuttle, which is basically the only way of escaping this facility because it's literally located in the middle of the ocean. Main characters, of course, escape, leaving Emiko and her henchmen back on the base, but turns out, plot twist, of course, the Cthulhu can not only shoot freaking laser beams, which damages the shuttle, but also can just straight up fly. Who would have thought? As we all know, Gamera also can fly, and of course, conveniently, he also didn't die, so he just slashes Cthulhu in half. That might have sounded sarcastic, but I actually love ending of this episode, because not only Cthulhu as a kaiju looks freaking horrific, and all the scenes with it are just top tier, but also because Joe dies. Surprisingly. I didn't expect it to be as sad as it actually was, but the scene where he sacrifices himself so he can manually eject the safety pod from the space shuttle so his friends could escape was actually really well done. While everyone were panicking, not knowing what to do because the shuttle was literally breaking apart and nothing was working, Joe just stood up without a long annoying monologue, sacrificed himself, pulled the lever, saved his friends. Again, without cheesiness in the scene, it was just a really good heroic sacrifice. I really like how it was written, I really like how it was shown. A+. Oh, and Emiko, by the way, first gets crashed by the corpse of kaiju, and then is also killed by one of those dragon-like kaijus. Again, that might sound sarcastic, but I have no complaints. And here's the thing, I would have loved a lot if that's where the series would have actually ended. But no, we have one more episode. And overall, it feels kind of unnecessary, because all heroes are saved, Gamera is presumably dead, everyone is acting and crying that he's dead, but I don't believe it for a second. All of the evil kaijus are defeated, and all of the evil humans either dead or left stranded on the moon without supplies. Essentially, the last episode is basically the aftermath. The military is again involved, mother of the main character, who I honestly completely forgot about. Basically, everyone is trying to make sure Gamera doesn't die, because in case there's any other kaijus left in the world, it might be the only weapon they have against those kaijus. That tiny dragon kaiju somehow grew into the size of freaking Burj Khalifa, and now they have to fight again. And like, yeah, the army had to hold off that kaiju while Gamera is fully healing. Gamera afterwards became a freaking spinning ball, which is freaking funny. And oh no, the SCP Foundation made him evil and whatnot, but I don't know, the previous episode was so good with the emotional, like, climax and heroic sacrifice. Like, everything was building up to it so well. This episode still feels unnecessary. Like, the emotional peak was reached. I don't know why you need to drag this any longer than it should be. Overall, I can recommend this anime, especially if you have nothing else to watch. There was a lot of good moments, there was a lot of cringy moments, but overall the experience was more or less pleasant. All of the kaijus were pretty memorable, and actually most of the characters were pretty memorable. I'm still a little upset that the main character was essentially just a kind-hearted protagonist like in the most anime, but still. So if you have a Netflix subscription, you can spend a few fun nights binging this anime. I can recommend it. I probably not gonna rewatch it, however, but I can still say it was a fun ride. It's still better than Solo Leveling. I guess that is it for today. Tell me in the comments if you agree or disagree with my hot takes. Leave a like. Bye. Also, in the end, Gamera blew up the moon and killed himself. Lamau.